Hi guys, this is Rich with Wild Wonderful Weekends. And there's one particular area that seems to give droners a lot of trouble when they're first starting out in their own business, and that's trying to figure out how much you should charge for your services. And no wonder, you want to make sure that you're paying yourself enough, but there's a lot of business costs that you have to consider too, like advertisement and insurance, how much you're going to pay your visual observers and your secondary operators if you use those. There's going to be equipment upgrades and repairs that inevitably come around. And then there are the things that are variable with each mission, and that's like how far away it is. What are you going to spend in gas and food and lodging to perform that job? I'm going to show you a tool in this video that I've used for about 4 years now that lets me generate professional looking quotes in seconds, literally. And it's not only kept me profitable, but it's kept me competitive, and it's helped me even make decisions on which drones I want to add to my fleet and which jobs I want to focus on to make the most money with the least effort and the least risk. I'm going to show you everything that the tool can do, including how to configure it to your business. But first I want to show you just how fast it can generate a quote once it is configured. And after that, we'll take a deeper dive, and I'll also put a link in the description where you can get your own copy of the tool. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so in this example, we're going to say that I've spoken with a client. We'll say it's Jane Smith, and I know I'm going to be doing a real estate job. This is the worksite address, and these are the deliverables that she's going to get. Then I can come into this tool, and I can just start plugging in information because it's already been configured to my business. And like I said, in just a bit, I'm going to show you how you can do that too. But let's say that I've determined I need one visual observer. I won't need any secondary operators. I'm going to shoot this job using my Mavic 3 Pro. I'll also be using my Insta360 and my DSLR. I won't need to use Maps Made Easy, but I will be using Luminar Neo and also DaVinci Resolve. For mission planning, I'll say that that's going to take half an hour. Mission execution, we'll say will take 1 hour. And processing, we'll say will take 2 to get the photos and videos edited. We'll say that it's about 10 miles away to the work site. I won't need to buy food on this because it's a relatively short job and it's relatively close. Also, I won't need lodging, and I won't need any special or extra insurance. Just by plugging those numbers in, my tool calculates that I should charge $197.25. $32.69 of that should go back into my business and my depreciable assets, and we'll discuss that a little bit later too, but that's basically equipment, upgrades, and repair costs. $0 is going to go to advertisement, and the split to my annual insurance cost should be $385. After those splits are taken out, I would make a net profit of $118.71, and that would be the equivalent of me earning about $30.97 an hour. So that quickly I know how much I should charge my customer. And if I want to go ahead and give them a professional looking quote, I can hit this generate quote and log data button. A Google Apps script is going to run. And now if I come over to my quote sheet tab, I see that I have a quote sheet that I can actually hand my client. It breaks down the charges and the deliverables. This tool also provides some business analytics to help you see what your top earning jobs and equipment are. And this type of information can really help you focus on which types of jobs you pursue and which types of equipment you invest in. But we'll go over that more in a second. First, let's go ahead and take a look at how to configure this tool for your business. When you first download your copy of the workbook, it's going to be completely blank, and you're going to start out in the Info tab. Now, I already have some of my information entered here. Under business name, I have Advantage Drone Services. Under logo, I've uploaded my company's logo, and it appears small in the cell, but that's okay. It's going to appear regular size in the quote sheet that you can print out. And typically images that are close to square work better. You don't want to put something in here that's overly wide or overly tall. And to insert an image into a cell, all you do is select the cell, come up to Insert, select Image, and then Insert Image in Cell, and you can browse out to the image that you want to use from your computer. I have city, state, email, phone, website, and how long I want my quote to be valid for populated as well. And obviously you don't want to let your quotes be valid for too long, because then things can change and your clients can come back and say, hey, you quoted me this a year ago. Can I still get this job done for whatever you quoted me in? Typically you don't want to do that. You're going to skip the pricing and the quote sheet for now, and you're going to come over to business costs. The very first area that we're going to enter data in is the depreciable assets area. You'll notice that some of the cells have white backgrounds and some have color fills. The cells with color in the background are not meant to be typed into manually. They contain formulas that are going to help roll up the data into your final quote. So under depreciable assets, you want to enter any of your equipment that does depreciate or devalue over time. And tech devalues pretty quick. So here for my company, let's say I could enter a Mavic 3 Pro. And let's say when it was brand new, I spent about $2,200 on it. And you want to put in here what you actually spent on the equipment when it was new, because you're going to have to buy new equipment in the future too, and you're going to have to kind of keep up with what the average costs are. Let's say I also have a Mini 3 Pro. We'll say I spent about $800 on that. I have an Insta360 X4, say $500. I have a DSLR, and that'll be good enough for a start. And don't worry about any of the errors that you see in some of these cells yet. It's waiting on more information before it can make its calculation. All right, so now we go down to the advertisement section, and you got to figure out how much you're spending or going to spend on advertisement in your business a year. So we'll say that I spend about $500 a year, and cost per year for my insurance we'll say is $200. And these are just example values, of course. Okay, for target missions per week, I want to enter in here how many missions I intend to fly in a week's time. For an aggressive business, this might be 3 or 4 missions a day. For someone who's doing this part-time, this might be 1 or 2 missions a week, or even maybe 0.5 missions a week if you only intend to do 2 missions a month. So for this example, we'll put in 2 missions per week. And for target reinvestment time in years, we want to enter how long we think it's going to be before we have to refresh our technology. And like I said earlier, drone tech moves pretty fast. It seems like DJI is releasing new drones in their lines at least every 2 years with significant tech upgrades. So if you were to let it go too long, your tech's going to get outdated and your competition is going to be able to do more than you're able to do. I'm going to go ahead and put 3 years here. This just means that every 3 years I expect to have to refresh my equipment. That may mean a new 360 camera, new drones, new DSLR, whatever it is that I use. Once I plug that in, you see that all of the formulas calculate. So with a 3-year return on investment target at 2 missions per week, every mission that I fly, I need to reinvest or save $15.06 to put back into equipment purchases or upgrades. If my advertisement cost is $500 a year, each mission that I fly at 2 missions per week, I need to put $4.81 back for advertisement. And if my insurance is $200 a year, I need to put back $1.92 per mission that I fly if I fly 2 missions per week. If I change this to 3 missions per week, the formulas update. So it's something you do have to spend a little time thinking about before you configure this, but once you do, it's pretty simple. The next and final sheet we need to go to configure it for our business is Rate Sheet. This is where we determine how much we want to charge for the time spent doing the work that we do. And it's broken down into 3 sections: mission planning, mission execution, and processing. Mission planning has things in it like airspace authorization, virtual site survey, and flight planning. So of course, anytime you're going to fly a mission, you need to check the airspace. And if there are any special requirements you have to go through, you have to factor that time in. Also, before I fly a mission, I like to do a virtual site survey on Google Earth just to kind of get a feel for the way the terrain is and also what structures are there that I may need to consider when planning what altitude to fly at. So for this part of the job, let's say that I want to charge $30 an hour. Mission execution, of course, is the actual site survey once you get on location, and any fine-tuning you might need to do to your mission plan. Also flying the drone and capturing the digital assets and confirming the data before you leave the site. So let's say for that part of the job, I'll charge $35 an hour. And again, these are just example data points. You'll need to figure out what the market will bear in your particular location. But for processing, and this is creating the data products, whether it's a map or a digital twin or just edited photos and videos, you want to figure out what you need to charge for that process as well. And here again, I'll say I'll charge $30 an hour. Also, you may have to use a visual observer, so you have to figure out what you want to pay them as well. I'll say that I pay my VOs $30 an hour, and if I need a secondary or tertiary operator, what will I pay them? And I'll say I pay them $35 as well. And again, only the cells with white backgrounds should be typed into. The cells with colored backgrounds have formulas. Next, we want to list what software we use to process our data. This could be things like Pix4D. And software suites like Pix4D have a lot of different pricing tiers and a lot of different things that they offer. So you'll need to figure out what you want to charge per mission to use Pix4D if and when you need to use Pix4D. I'm going to say that I would charge $20 per mission that I need to use Pix4D on. Let's say for photo editing, I use Luminar Neo. And let's say per mission I want to charge $10 if I need to use Luminar to edit photos. I also use DaVinci Resolve to process videos. And we'll say I charge $15 per mission that I need to use DaVinci on. And I could list more software here, but that'll do for this example. For a mileage charge, I look up whatever the IRS is recommending for the current year and I plug that in. In 2025, it's 70 cents per mile. Finally, I want to enter the average speed that I drive to and from work sites. And the tool uses that to calculate your equivalent dollars per hour earned. And since there are a lot of 2-lane roads and 4-lane roads where I live that I typically drive on, I'm just going to say it's an average of 55 miles per hour. Okay, now let's let the tool generate a proposal for us, and we'll look at some of the data analytics that it provides as well. To generate a proposal, I come over to the pricing sheet and I just start plugging information in. You can see that it's already pulled over some of the rates. It's also brought in the equipment that I use, and it's applied a formula to calculate how much that equipment would cost to rent for an hour. It's brought in the software I use as well. Okay, so let's say that we're going to do a mapping project. So under project type, I can type in mapping. And for customer name, I'll just say Hard Hat Construction. I can enter the customer phone number here and customer email. I would enter the worksite address. And any deliverables that I'm going to give them. So we'll say I'm going to give them a 360 pano and an ortho map. All right, now we can come over and start plugging in our numbers. So for this job, I would need one visual observer. I won't need a secondary operator, and I can shoot everything with the Mavic 3 Pro. I'll be creating the map using Pix4D, so I'll check that. And I won't need Luminar Neo or DaVinci Resolve. We'll say for mission planning, it's going to take an hour. Mission execution will take an hour. And processing, even though it's automatic, will take about half an hour, we'll say. And you can see the fields with the formulas run their calculations as I provide more data. So since I said mission execution would take 1 hour and the hourly rental rate for the Mavic 3 Pro is $13.75, that's what's getting charged. If I were to change that to 2 hours, the formula updates automatically. And it takes all that information and it rolls it up into the total amount to charge, which for this job would be $222.50. My split for my depreciable assets is $10.04. My advertisement split is $3.21, and my insurance split should be $128. Net profit for this job, minus those expenses and splits, would be $127.97, and that would be a $1 per hour equivalent of $36.56. Now there are a couple data points that I didn't put in yet. Let's go ahead and put those in. Let's say that the job is 20 miles away. I will need to buy 1 meal while I'm out. We'll say $7 for that. I won't need lodging for overnight, and I don't need any special insurance. So now my mission expenses calculate at $150, and that changes what I should charge to $257. So it's very flexible, and you can game out different scenarios for what you want to charge or propose to your client. Once you're sure you have everything correct here, you can click Generate Quote and log data. And once the script finishes running, you can click the quote sheet, and we see that everything's been broken down and categorized based on the information that we provided in the pricing sheet. We have our company name, our logo, when the project expires, how much it's going to cost for planning, how much it's going to cost for our crew, the equipment that we're going to use and what it costs, and any third-party products that we need to. So this provides a really high level of transparency to your client, and that builds trust. Then, of course, we have the cost of the project. Listed here also is the customer details and any deliverables that we're going to give them. And at the main bottom, we have our company info. Typically, if I'm going to print this for someone, I come up to File and select Print. And I choose Fit to Width. and then everything comes out nice and clean on one page. It's a simple proposal, but it works, and in my experience, clients really like it. Another thing that this tool does when you generate your quote and log the data is in this data log, it creates a table of all of the job types and what equipment you used on that job and how much money that equipment earned. And that becomes really useful in the data summaries over here, where you can see the data broken down again by projects and by equipment. And this helps you get a really clear idea, especially over time, of which projects are earning you the most money and which pieces of equipment are earning you the most money. And the chart's pretty handy too, and it offers another way to look at the same data. And you can click this chart to activate it and then drag it around if you want it in a different part of the screen. And the way it comes up by default is your equipment is at the bottom and the project types are along the side. And what this shows you is which equipment was used in different types of projects. And if you hover over the different color bands, it shows you the actual value. So this is 13.75. That's how much money was made using the Mavic 3 Pro in real estate. And of course, if you hover over the other bands, you see here's mapping. We have asset inspection and aerial photos and videos. And if you want to pivot this, all you have to do is right click on the chart, select data range, scroll to the bottom of the little pop-up panel and check switch rows and columns. Now your project types are along the bottom and your equipment are along the top. And you can hover over the bands again to see the values. Now sometimes you may give a client a quote, and then once you actually fly the mission, maybe it's a little different than you quoted them. So if you ever need to go back and change the data in your log, you can easily do that. So let's say this mission here on row 8, instead of aerial photos and videos, let's say I wanted to actually categorize that under real estate photography. I can just come in here and edit that, go back to my data summaries page, and then click this refresh pivot table and chart button. And the pivot table and the pivot chart are both rebuilt with the new data. But like I said, this is a tool that I use now to give quotes to clients all the time. It's quick, it's effective, and it keeps me in the black. If you decide you would like to have a copy of this yourself, there's going to be a link in the description, and it definitely helps the channel. But thanks for watching, and if you have any comments or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Take care.